Welcome all to the Xbox Expansion Pass. Thoughtful discussions on gaming without the console war noise. Make sure you're subscribed, be it on iTunes, Spotify, or right here on YouTube. I am your host, Luke Lore, the Insipid Ghost, as always, joined by my co-host, the Intrepid, Captain Logan. Today, we're discussing our favorite games of 2025, examining why smaller and mid-budget games are breaking through, and just what this means for the industry coming up in 2026. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I had a really good vacation. I started vacation on the 18th of December, and I just went and played games, just kind of working through some of the backlog to kind of play some stuff that I wanted to play. And then just kind of relaxed for all intents and purposes. And then after that got to Christmas Eve, went down to Tennessee to visit a chick's family and have Christmas there. Tennessee down there there's a little mini Vegas that I didn't know about, so that was kind of weird.
Dollywood,
like near Dollywood, around that area. Yeah, like that whole area is just like it's like a mini Vegas. They have all the stuff that's in Vegas, but just in the middle of like Tennessee, and I'm like, that's weird. Nobody talks about this, but everyone in the South knows about it apparently. So I don't know. It's wild coming from the West Coast and having Vegas and then coming over here and being like, I've seen all of this. I know what all of this stuff is. But then outside of that, this week was a busy but relatively straightforward work week. With New Year's Eve, and had a little celebration, for a small get together with friends for New Year's Eve. And then, I've been back on World of Warcraft because they've been doing a time limited thing, and I've got like 2 weeks left, but they brought housing in. So I've been making a house, and
that's fun.
That's like,
I enjoyed that in Grounded.
It's like an Animal Crossing level of, it hits that kind of, I don't know, the same reason like people like Stardew Valley and games that you're little cozy games. I'm just like moving little things with a little gimbal, and I don't know, for some reason it's stupid fun, and I'm totally like invested.
That's a blast, man. There's nothing wrong with
that.
My
house
sounds great.
So, but how was your Christmas? We took a week off and have been kind of chill during the cold.
Can't complain, truly. We kind of skipped Christmas this year. Not in any like negative way, but like my wife had her second surgery of the year. Planned, don't misunderstand, planned. But that's of course a major event because it's a pretty big surgery, and so her recovery. Plus, I was on. I don't think I shared publicly truly how sick I was through the course of December, but I was very ill. I didn't even share with people at work just how sick. So recovery from that. So that required lots of doctor visits and stuff. But very grateful we're on the other side of that. Things went well. It was quiet. It was calm. I played a lot of video games, enjoyed that. We've been going on walks. My puppy's doing great. So for all the stresses that might have come from December, I've had a very quiet few weeks where I've gotten to just play games, take care of my wife, take care of my dog, and play more games. You know what I mean? And so that's been wonderful. I've really been enjoying that. I've done a lot of fun gaming. I installed stuff onto my Steam Deck. I became a PC gamer. I've got my dual monitors. My second monitor is great. My first one, not so great. So I have a second monitor arriving today that'll be replacing this one. I've become what I don't want to be at the right time in the industry for the finances, of course. But no, I boxed up my 2 Switches, my Series S, my PlayStation 5 to be eventually sold for whatever.
Okay.
I don't know why that bothers you. What bothers you there?
You're okay. We can get into it if you want to, but I'll just say like there's a hairy man with claws that I'm looking forward to this year that I'm like, are you really going to get rid of your PlayStation 5 for that?
You mean because of Wolverine?
Yeah.
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm going to, it's going to come to Steam sooner than later. So that's good. Yes. I'm excited to see it. And like, I want to play it, but I'd rather go ahead and clear out some of the space, get ready for the Steam Machine. What I like about the Steam Machine is it's compact, you know. But yeah, I think having one console and then a Steam box type thing is the way to do it. And so whatever your established library is, that's the way people should go. I will tell you, nice. Good to see Clutch Quando and Frank Conductor in the house, and of course Addy Zero, and then Game Positive. Very disrespectful, shameful. I will say the thing that I've kind of learned in the past 2 weeks, I was updating my Steam Deck to include Heroic, which lets you merge all your libraries. So now my Steam Deck has my GOG library, my Amazon Luna library, my Epic Game Store library, as well as its Steam library. So it's just like, yeah. So and it's just there. So you know, so it's just that's the future.
That's awesome. That's I mean that is like what we dream of. You know, like we dream of having the universal library where you're not necessarily like, I'm going to sit in my office chair and I'm going to put my little power button down on my PC and I'm going to make sure all 3 gillion, you know, like I got 2 mice, 3 monitors. It's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. Sometimes I just want to sit in front of my couch with a big screen and a controller and be lazy, like some sort of, I don't know. Like
that's the big thing as far as gaming in 2026. Like I hear the logic behind so many of our friends that are like, go PC, that's what the future is. Acknowledged, respected. But even installing the second monitor, it was like, oh, this port's not connected to this thing on the motherboard, and you got to do that. Use a display coordinate. It's like, this is ridiculous. It should just work.
Luke, I have to call this. Can I call this out? I'm going to call this out.
Yeah, I'll still say it's stupid.
I think it's hilarious that you and I can't confirm because I wasn't there. I didn't see any photos. I can't verify this, but I'm pretty sure that you ended up plugging your second monitor into the IO panel on the back of your PC instead of the graphics card.
So how do I put, like, you know, the ports that are on the back of your PC?
That's your IO panel.
Yeah. One of them was not, so that there's the graphics card in there, but then there was not a port serial connected to the second HDMI, which is annoying. And like you're making the face, and I respect it, but it's just dumb. Like it should just, if it's there, it should work. And like the big thing is, it's not hard, but it's not something I want to deal with when I'm working in this space. And
yeah,
that's the bigger thing. That's why something like a Steam Machine is appealing. That's why an Xbox ROG Ally is appealing. I want it to just work. I don't want to worry about driver updates and is this motherboard and this graphics card and this, especially at a time when prices are remarkable. And so that's how I think about it. And I think that's how, respectfully, in this space, I think a lot of people might be like, Luke, you're crazy, that's nuts. But the masses just want it to work as well. That's why the Switch, the Wii are so popular, all the way back to the Wii. They just want it to plug and play and work.
Same as, I was like, who's playing their Wii in 2026?
But you go back, what's the best selling? Wii.
Oh yeah.
Switch to, and they just want it to work. They don't want to worry about the logistics therein. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at. And that's the frustrating time for this year, because it's like, all right, well, costs are going up. What do we do as far as new consoles? Some suggesting that consoles don't come out until 2027. Some even Christopher Dring 2030 is when we need them. Sure. Whatever. There's a lot of debate to be had in that, but the bottom line, we
had that conversation though. We did have that, like we did say, like, hey, you know, do we feel the pain of like our consoles being too slow? And the answer, I think, resoundingly was like, no, we're still good.
Yeah, these consoles have not been maxed out in any way, shape, or form. Some wonderful things have happened this generation: quick resume, cloud saves, cross progression, the merge library, play anywhere. Yes, those are the keys to this generation, not some massive graphical leap. That while it exists, it's less noticeable as you're in uncanny valley territory. However, regardless, I'm still excited for the future. I'm glad if we don't have to buy new consoles this year. I'm disappointed to see that Asus is raising prices. We know that RAM prices are exuberantly high right now, exorbitantly high, I should say. And so there's a lot to break down within that. And we are going to get into that this episode. We do have the rising cost of AAA production as one of our main topics this year, because the AAA model is genuinely cracking under the pressure, as evidenced by the fact that we're reliant on GTA 6 rather to push the industry forward. We're reliant on some of these titles to give it an injection, because gaming has a max out in the console space of 250 million sold, which is just fully evident. But we'll get into that, and we'll probably start with our favorite games of this year as well. I do want to give a call out to Silken It in the chat, as well as Omni showing up here as well to join us. Good to see you guys. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you starting off our 2026 well. Logan, we do like to start the show with words of kindness, and I'm going to start this week by saying, 10 minutes in, I've really appreciated all the love we got from our subscribers on Patreon, because Patreon, in a time when finances are tough, that we appreciate anyone being there as a free member all the way up to the paid various tiers, as well as being channel members here on YouTube. And they got access to our Discord, which meant we got to hang out and talk to them so often in there. And every morning, like 10 people say good morning. Every morning. Doesn't matter what day, if it's a holiday. Good morning. How are we? We talking to people like Jam Pack Sam, who's now famous, who's been a part of our podcast family for years at this point. But that Discord has been such a source of joy and fun and discussion. No console war noise, and I really appreciate that. We just talk about games and games we love, and people are celebratory of it. And so they are my words of kindness this week. They made my 2025 significantly better. And I will tell anybody that is, maybe needing a positive community to consider that as an option. We do pay gate it specifically because we want that positivity. But it's $3 a month for anybody that wants to get in there via Patreon. It's just a joy to be there. So we would appreciate anyone checking that out. Silken It saying Sam of the Facebook ads. Yeah, Sam's so famous now. He's on Facebook. He's on TikTok. He's everywhere, doing any number of wonderful things. And it's really good to celebrate him as well as many others in our community. So just wanted to give them a shout out for this week. What about you, my friend? Who do you want to give spotlights to? I see the joke in the notes.
The joke. Well, okay. So the joke in the show notes is capitalism. I'd like to thank capitalism this week. And actually probably for the last couple of weeks, because this time of year is usually the time when we go out and we spend money on others. And capitalism, thankfully, is one of those things that allows us to see companies vying for our dollar. And I think that our dollar is the most powerful thing that we have when it comes to just industry in general. So I wanted to shout out capitalism as a means of affording content for others, whether it's in games or products or just things that you want to get people. But seeing sales on games, I was gifted quite a few games this year from a good number of friends, and a lot of them because they were on sale. Yourself included, gifted me Resident Evil 4, the gold edition, so that I could actually give it a shot.
I think you'll love it once you get there.
I hope so. I really do, because I love Resident Evil. I played all the way up to 4, and absolutely love those games. But it's one of those things where if it wasn't for capitalism and just the sales that companies have, I wouldn't have been able to save money on deals to be able to then get people things that I normally wouldn't have been able to get folks. So that was one of those things where in the long run, I wanted to celebrate my friends, and I wanted to give them something that I wanted to make sure I tried to hit up people that I haven't hit up in a while, and just let them know that I appreciate their friendship and I love them and I hope they're doing well, and give them something that makes them smile, because that's something that a lot of people did for me this year. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, we saw some really good deals on games. If I didn't have
weird to hear from you.
I know.
Like, what?
Well, I'm not gonna. So I mean, I would name people that actually got me stuff, but I don't want to forget someone. And I don't want someone to think that I'm not appreciative of what they got me. But the fact that they got me stuff made me happy, because it brought me stuff that I'd been wanting for a while, and it really made a difference. So I had a really good time this year, or the end of this year, on this vacation, playing a lot of games over the break. And it was fantastic to be able to play a lot of the games that I didn't own before December. And a lot of that was because of friends. And a lot of that is just because a lot of folks are willing to do something for someone else, and seeing sales on some of the stuff that we've been like gifting each other and stuff has made
Yeah.
that possible. And that's just
Okay.
it's a weird thing, but it's a thing that I think, I want to recognize, because if it wasn't for the sales, I probably wouldn't have been able to get as many people gifts as I wanted to.
Yeah, no, I think the countdown sales that Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo do each year are wonderful. And then when you have people kind enough to donate or share or whatnot, that's always appreciated, because then you get to see kind of like people like to give, people like to be kind,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a kind of a core pillar of what we build around here is people enjoy being good to one another, and I will say we benefit routinely from the kindness of people in there. So yeah, good shout outs to that one. Good shout
It's
outs to that
weird.
one.
I know, I know
Your
it's weird.
wording was weird, but your point is not weird. That's
Well,
wonderful.
that's why I wanted it. It's a little bit of a wraparound. It's not gonna fit in a nice little box, unlike most of my presents.
There you go. There you go. Well, lots to break down this week, of course, but it's really great to be back in the saddle and talking to people, as well
Yeah.
as just kind of seeing our chat. Silent Cipher, good to see you. Nerd Chat, good to see you guys. Enjoyed your content over the holiday as well.
Yep.
So I figured that we should talk about some of our favorite games that we played in 2025. Whether it came out in 2025 is not really the thing. We're not the Game Awards type shows. We're not making the Platties like that, dumb show, the Trophy Room. We would never do that. We just want to celebrate stuff that we played and enjoyed, right?
Yeah.
So, Logan, start me off with a game that you think people should be checking out, whether it was out in 2025 or not. What's a game that you enjoyed in 2025?
Let's start with one of the oddballs, which I think is going to be Ball Pit. Ball Pit is one of those games where it's like a brick breaker game, but you play as different characters. There's a little bit of city building in there. So if you like Sim City and you like pinball, but you like those like brick breaker Arkanoid games, this is one of those ones that it mashes up a couple different genres. And we've seen this with other stuff. I think Balatro the other year was one of the standouts for how to kind of like blend roguelikes and stuff like that. But Ball Pit kind of took me because of X Bacon Gaming from the Nerd Chat. And I saw what he was doing, and he was like really, really adamant about it. And I was like, well, it's on Game Pass, so let's give this a shot. I 100%ed that game. I got everything. I focused so hard. I was really, really working to get everything in that game. And that is one of those games that really surprised me, because I was not expecting to get so hooked on it. Much in the same way that a lot of people got hooked on Balatro or Blueprints or, gosh, I'm trying to think of another one, Hades 2, games like that. Like, you don't anticipate getting hooked on, and you hear the kind of like groundswell of people talking about it. And that was just one of those ones that I was just like, this was a really, really well made game. It was really well thought out, and there's room for expansion with bringing in new characters and stuff and adding new combinations. Vampire Slayer is another fantastic example.
Survivors.
Is it Survivors? Survivors. Okay. Yeah. Vampire Survivors. Another perfect example of one of those kind of roguelike mashups of a genre where it's like, it looks like a top-down Castlevania game, but realistically it's a bullet hell, in a way. And it was just really, really good. So yeah, Ball Pit, if you guys haven't given it a shot, I think within like the first 30 minutes of playing through that game, you'll get a good idea of what the gameplay is going to be like. And then know that there's depth there. But if it doesn't click with you in that first like half hour to an hour, then you could probably put it down and be fine with it as well too.
Gotcha. X Bacon Gaming did arrive today. He, of course, you got multiple shout outs earlier in the show. Good to see you there, Bacon.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Grounded 2 off the bat here, because this is an early access title that launched into Game Pass, and Obsidian, of course, really did a great job this year by launching 3 titles in Avowed, Grounded 2, and The Outer Worlds 2. I really enjoyed Grounded 2 in a way that I did not expect to. This was an unexpected joy of mine. I thought it was very silly when people were, you included, were celebrating Grounded 2. Yay, it's coming out. I was like, why are we excited? Jumping in, getting to do the preview and the interview for it, of course, kind of incentivized me to play Grounded 2.
Yeah.
And then I just got hooked into the gameplay loop and the world. And I put tons of hours into that thing. I know 50 plus easy. And so just genuine shout out to Grounded 2. I absolutely love that title. One of my favorite games of 2025. I strongly encourage people to check that one out. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was it was really nice to see them take everything that they've learned from the kind of Grounded one, like the Yoked edition, and bring that forward into Grounded 2. And now I'm just kind of waiting for them to start adding more and more content. They've done a really good job so far. And yeah, surprising that they managed to get 3 games out this year. Especially thanks to them actually partnering with another studio to kind of work on Grounded 2. It's clear that they've found a good way to build multiple titles and expand their team without necessarily having to weigh down all of their studio with one title or 2 titles.
Certainly, it's going to be an interesting juxtaposition to watch Obsidian operate in 2026 and 7, while you look at what's going on with all the other AAA studios under Xbox's umbrella, just given the way that the AAA model is operating. Again, that's a later topic for us, but let's loop back to Obsidian for sure. I'm going to use this moment to take a second turn here and say Avowed is one of my favorite games of 2025. I genuinely think this is a fantastic title that more people should be checking out. I've seen this game be on people's game of the year list, as well as people's like disappointed game list, which I think is very interesting, because in no way, shape, or form is this game bad. That's the funny thing about it. Mechanics work great, audio works great, visuals are beautiful, everything works really well. And yet I think some people wanted more as far as their companion interactions and perhaps some of the layers of the story. I found myself truly invested into this world. I fell in love with the work that they did with Avowed. I fell in love with the combat loop, especially. And I really love what they did with Avowed. I'm looking forward to seeing it launch on the PlayStation 5 and arriving to more people, because I think with it and that big update is wonderful. I don't know that we'll ever see an Avowed 2, but I would love to.
Yeah, I will echo that. Avowed was the one that I was going to pick next. And it genuinely is one of those titles that I think really kind of showcases what Obsidian's heart and soul is, where their strengths lie. And it was really, really impressive to kind of jump into that world. And especially with Avowed, I think if you're curious how you can really change up how first person games feel by including mechanics around like melee never felt better in a game before Avowed when it comes to first person. Like I've seen other games, I've played other games. Most of us are kind of used to the first person shooter aspect of first person, but melee has always kind of felt wonky, and Avowed really, really killed it by making first person feel like there was weight and gravity. And I think ironically enough, Doom the Dark Ages this year is one of those other games that's
on my list as well.
Yeah, so Doom the Dark Ages, they were talking about being like a grounded tank effectively. So you picked Avowed, I'll pick Doom Dark Ages because that was one that it did everything that I like about Doom in a way that feels more like a game from, I would say, like the late 2000s to the early 2010s, on like that 360 era where everything, you just had like weighty dudes running around stomping. And Doom the Dark Ages really kind of like them and Avowed really made first person melee combat feel like there was power in it. And you don't, every now and then, like when I would go back and watch other games like Oblivion or Skyrim, stuff that Bethesda's worked on, it never felt like there was any weight to the swing or any kind of power behind what you were doing.
Mhm.
And I think that Doom and Avowed have really managed to do that well. But Avowed came out of nowhere and had a really good story, whereas I think Doom had some of the best action I
Mhm.
think that I've seen this year in its gameplay, and it really the shout out to them for adding as many accessibility options as well too. I know a
Mhm.
lot of people were kind of like iffy about the giants kind of like going around in a giant mech, kind of
Mhm.
beating up demons and stuff like that. I actually enjoyed that, even if it wasn't all that like unique, because I
Mhm.
feel like anyone that's played through Gears of War has or not the original Gears of War, but Gears of War 4
Mhm.
has had that kind of experience already. But it was cool to see in Doom, and I appreciated like the dragon riding and stuff. Like it's not something that'll be for everyone. I think Doom: The Dark Ages is one of those games that is going to stretch where Doom can go, and I
Mhm.
appreciated that more than the main fan who would prefer just kind of like the run and gun with like the typical weapon wheel and augments.
Mhm. No, I absolutely agree. Doom: The Dark Ages is one of my favorite titles of 2025. Of course, I'm the guy with the Doom tattoo, and I love the Doom franchise all the way back to the very first iterations, and then all the modern reinterpretations of them. Doom: The Dark Ages stand and fight method was so interesting to take on after Doom Eternal that I really
Mhm.
found myself kind of confused at first, not sure how I felt about it, but ultimately really enjoying it. I did like the flying and the mech as well, but it did take time to come around. I think the updates they've done to The Dark Ages are fantastic, and what they're teasing and cough cough hint hint, what they're showing for Doom: The Dark Ages kind of next major update, really cool and giving life to this game. What I will say about this kind of finality in what is a perceived trilogy from id Software is I would love to see another studio take the reins of Doom in this next go round.
Mm.
Specifically, Machine Games is who I'd like to see, because we've gotten this fantastic id reinvention from Hugo Martin and his team from Doom 2016 through Eternal, now Dark Ages. It'd be cool to see another studio take that on. I don't expect that will be the case, but I would like to see it happen because it
Yeah,
is such a great set. I'd like to see new minds take hold, because I worry that this continued showcase uh, from it needs to be altered a bit. Hey, let's give a
interesting.
shout out to Silent Cypher real quick.
Oh,
$5 super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. He drops a ball pit US code for Series S here into the chat for anyone that is live chatting with us over here on YouTube. Feel free to redeem that and let Silent Cypher know that you got it. We would really love to see him get some love for that. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Sincerely.
that's awesome.
Sincerely. I'm going to leave that on screen for just a moment there. Logan, you dropped Doom: The Dark Ages. I'm gonna drop in some love for a smaller title now, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. I really enjoyed that game. I have not even finished it,
Mhm.
and yet it's still one of my favorite experiences, because we've seen Daimu and Tribute Games do such a good job with the 2D action space for beloved IP via Shredder's Revenge and such. Cosmic Invasion does a great job with multiple characters, with really cool combat and Easter eggs, and they just showed a significant amount of love to Marvel in a time where Marvel's kind of in this weird state. And I really loved this video game. All the more W's for the Xbox community in that they got to play this game via Game Pass, which is really cool as well. And so genuine shout outs to uh Daimu and Tribute Games. I loved Marvel Cosmic Invasion. I hope more people get to check that one out. That is one of my favorite games of this year.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't gotten to jump into that one, so it's like one that I would love to sit down and play through. But I like there's already a bunch of games on my list. And speaking of, what I will jump into next is probably going to be uh, one of the few games that I wasn't expecting to jump into this year.
Okay.
That really kind of surprised me. That's Destiny 2. I
What?
went back
Really?
and played the final shape because I had dropped off after Lightfall, which was a couple expansions ago.
Mm-hmm.
And with the news of them coming out with a Star Wars expansion, where they bring Star Wars into Destiny 2 and seeing all the kind of stuff like that, they had a really good deal on Steam. that included Renegades, weirdly enough, and all of the past content on Steam. Well, most of my content is usually on Xbox because I've got Play Anywhere, and it was always like available both on PC as well as on Xbox. So I've always bought there, and they didn't offer any kind of crossover as far as their expansions between ecosystems. That's always been one of the main issues that I've had with Destiny 2. So when I saw the deal for Renegades on Steam, I was like, all right, I want to check it out and stuff like that. Plus, I missed the Final Shape, so I'll go back and check out the Final Shape. Well, I went through the Final Shape, and as a fan of Destiny, coming in like well after the Cade 6 expansion, and Nathan Fillion just dominating that role in general.
He's such a fun actor.
He really is. Yeah. It was really, really funny to kind of have him in that role again. But the Final Shape really kind of hit me. Like emotionally, it was like one of the few games this year that really kind of emotionally touched me. And if it wasn't for the deal on Steam, I wouldn't have picked it up. So that was one of those ones where Destiny 2 fans who have lapsed for a while may want to go and actually check out the Final Shape if they like me dropped off after Lightfall because they were hoping for something more after hitting the Witch Queen was one of their best expansions, and then Lightfall came and that was a disappointment, and I had always kind of had like a lesser hope or a lesser like trust that the Final Shape was going to hit, but like Freight Conductor says in chat, Final Shape was the end game moment for Destiny 2. And as much as I want to agree with him, looking at the content that I've seen for the Star Wars stuff, dude, you get lightsabers in Destiny 2 and they look and play well.
Do they? They play well.
Yes, they play well. And I'm surprised by it. But they've really, really done a good job with the Star Wars content, and they've melded it well. They've melded it as well to Destiny as Pirates of the Caribbean was melded into Sea of Thieves.
That's a high praise. That's a significantly high praise.
And I think they earn it. I think they earn that kind of praise because I think that the Renegade content that I've seen and played through, I've really enjoyed. And I thought that they've done a really nice job with the characters and stuff that they've done with it. But it's one of those things where it's like I missed out on a fair amount of the Destiny 2 content, and coming back to it and playing through it, there's still a big hurdle as far as like knowing what to do, where to go, how to do things, because they've changed a lot. But the story for Final Shape was excellent. It was absolutely excellent. And I encourage any Destiny 2 fan, if you haven't gone back and actually do it, that is definitely worth the grab.
That's cool, man. And not an expected one from our list. And I know you were a Destiny fan, of course, but I did not expect that one to be on our list. So I love hearing that it served you well, because Destiny is one of those communities that they're never happy, but they're so massive, and they exist in a part of the gaming space that maybe all of our podcast listeners don't always exist in, but that is very prominent, right? A lot of the live service games generate their own communities that are kind of tangentially a part of the gaming space, but I'm really happy to hear you enjoyed that and got to have that moment as well. And of course, Freight Conductor says that On Your Left moment was huge. Love that. And of course, we all know, kind of call back to Marvel. Love that part as well. The Final Shapes, Final Mission, Chef's Kiss, says our buddy Game Positive. Love that as well. And that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I want to talk about I'm gonna combine these two because I think it just better serves our discussion points. But I was in a year where, the Switch 2 launches and Mario Kart World is meant to be this big, massive kart racer. I had my eyes on Sonic Racing Cross Worlds because I really loved Sonic Racing Transforms. That was my favorite kart racer of all time. But I've always felt like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was the best kart racer of all time. I now have a new best kart racer of all time, and that's Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which I really, really love. There were a lot of questions about this game going into its launch because that price tag is pretty high. It was a $70 price tag. But then to get the season pass, which gives you access to Minecraft and SpongeBob and the Ninja Turtles and Pac-Man, that's another 20 some odd dollars, which brings you up to a $90 price tag, which is a big ask for a kart racer. Well, thankfully, they delivered on their base product in folds. You get a lot of free content over the months after launch, as well as a fantastic set of gameplay, tracks, customizations, character list is and roster is massive off the bat, as well as the new characters they've been dropping in. I got Nights into Dreams, which is really cool. They do festivals for all of their new characters, which give you all number of unlocks and tickets. And then the season pass is genuinely a goldmine of great characters from within and outside of Sega, which is just a genuine joy. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, my now favorite kart racer of all time, and I really hope people check it out while these sales are still active, because to me it is much better than Sonic Racing Transformed and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and significantly better than Mario Kart World, which I don't think is a high bar, despite some of the Nintendo love that Nintendo fans tend to throw their titles immediately. And of course, getting to play Sonic Racing Cross Worlds opened me back up to the Sonic games that I've missed, because I love Sonic the Hedgehog. You know that I think it was 2 years ago I went on my deep dive.
Heck yeah.
I went back and checked out Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, which is a really great remaster of Sonic Generations, but it has a whole new game within it. Not well marketed, I might add, because it's a very confusing compilation, but it's all the Sonic Generation stuff remastered, but then it's also an entirely new game spotlighting Shadow. And I really enjoyed that as well. I have done all the Generation stuff, and now I'm working on the Shadow stuff. Really enjoyed that as well. So to any of my Sonic fans, or any of my gamers that are out there that want a great kart racer, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, genuinely one of the best games of 2025. Strongly recommend it. If you see it on sale and you're interested in those characters, get that season pass. They really take good care of you. Absolutely a great set. So there you go there.
Nice.
Some things we need to call out in chat here. We got a $6.99 Canadian super chat from our boy Game Pod that says, wishing a happy new year to all of the XEP community, and a happy new year to all the clankers out there with the hard R, those tin skins. I tell you, that's an Arc Raiders reference, and we gotta talk about Arc Raiders in a few minutes. I also want to give a shout out to Isabella in the chat, one of my favorite humans of all time. I hope you're doing well, my dear. Happy new year to you. Logan, I spotlighted my 2 Sonic games. What do you want to bring up for our community here?
Okay, so going through the list, I'm trying to pick out ones that I definitely want to touch on. I want to pick up Dispatch at this point.
Okay, tell me about Dispatch, because I've questions.
Okay, so Dispatch, made by former people who worked on Wolf Among Us and the Telltale games. They came out with Dispatch, and I was already kind of sold on Dispatch when I saw the premise a while ago. I tried the demo and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I can't wait for this to release. It came out and I didn't pick it up because I heard that they were doing it episodic in releasing the different chapters like over time, kind of like a TV show used to do. And I was kind of like, I don't really want to, I kind of just want to play through all of it when I get it. And I just want to have it all available. So I didn't pick it up. So I didn't save the money on like the initial price on Dispatch. But then it was gifted to me. And it was one of those things where I was like, fantastic. I can't wait for this. But the story of a normal guy, a Tony Stark, if you will, in an Iron Man suit, but in this case, a big mecha suit, losing his suit and discovering the history behind his family, where the suit came from, why he decided to get in the suit in the first place, all of that in the background of him basically losing his superhero life and now having to go and be a dispatcher at a superhero company that like sells a service of having superheroes be at the beck and call of people, whether it be like in protection services for your business, or just having help with things around the house, or being an escort service for like what's it called, like not protection, it's like not bouncers, but security. Having like protection security for I was just trying to like figure out what it is, but like going to be like security escorts for famous people to different events or talking and stuff like that, and having to like manage a team of heroes who are all former villains and probably like the worst of the worst. Not only are they villains, they're not even good villains. They're the bottom of the barrel villains, and they
Okay.
all get at each other. They're all very kind of like antagonistic. And you've got this guy who used to be a superhero, even though he didn't have any powers, now having to be in charge of a team of, for all intents and purposes, holes. And you're just like, how are you going to manage that? Because now there's the promise that if you do something with this team, if you work on this team, the company that has hired you is going to help try and rebuild your mech suit. And that is the promise of getting back into that hero status, right? Being able to do what he wants. But it's all choice based with some good gameplay in the mix. And it's one of those ones that I absolutely loved it. And I actually saw an Instagram reel this morning that characterized Dispatch as the Twilight for guys. And I thought it was hilarious because at least in Twilight, you've got is it Belle or Bella with Jacob and the whatever the other guy's name is. I just remember Jacob. Edward.
I teach middle school, just to be clear.
How do you know this so well? But they were like two guys fawning over this girl who's like a very bland character in general. And they were like, Dispatch is Twilight for guys. Because it's superhero based. You got a very normal guy. And you've got two girls who are kind of throwing themselves at him from two different like polar opposites and stuff like that. And overall, like the story itself is actually fantastic. But it was one of those ones that I really enjoyed the telltale feeling, because I love Wolf Among Us. I'm still waiting for Wolf Among Us 2.
Keep waiting.
I know. Yeah, it's going to be a hot minute. And I don't even know if they're ever going to recapture what was special about that story. But I really, really, really loved Dispatch. It was Twilight for dudes. It is ridiculous that it works. And I now feel bad for dogging on Twilight so hard because I understand.
Capitalism in Twilight, man. Not an expected episode from Captain Logan. All right.
But yeah, Dispatch was a fantastic game. Love the choice based. It's kind of like with Cyberpunk. You get those choice based games, and I love having that like paradox of like, what do I do? You know, like how do you manage like different characters and who do you Avowed too? You know, who you pick, who you choose to take with you in Avowed. Very important. Because of their abilities and like their storylines, and you get invested in that. That's why I think a lot of people like Baldur's Gate 3 as well too. You know, like that choice-based system, that agency that you have in a game where you're just on rails, regardless, is something I'm starting to realize is like up my wheelhouse.
I think that happens as well as you become a more, I don't know if sophisticated is the right word, but like, and maybe I'm just wrong in this case, but I have found myself as I get older more patient to those types of games versus like the run and gun shooters. Shooters remain my like favorite genre, or most played genre according to True Achievements and such. But I think the choice-based stuff becomes more comfortable as we age, and the Twitch maybe just isn't our bread and butter. And maybe I'm wrong on that one. I'm curious to know what our chat thinks about that. Is that something like we talk often about, like as you age, you change your tastes for different gaming, or you're exposed to different stuff? Well, I've really enjoyed a number of genres in the last few years that I would never have liked when I was 15 or 25. And so maybe there's something to that. So
yeah, I definitely think so. So Dispatch was mine. You got another one?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Helldivers 2, which launched on the Xbox this year, and really had a great launch on the Xbox with its Halo content. I really love the Helldivers 2 formula. I did play that last year on PlayStation when it launched there, and enjoyed it there as well. I'm really happy to see that those developers were able to launch onto another platform. I think Helldivers 2 does a good thing for Sony in teaching that a launch onto a rival console is a good thing. Further emphasizing the decline of exclusivity as being a bit antiquated, as Sarah Bond said. And I don't know that I fully agree with that entirely, but in the live service realm especially, why not? Helldivers, a really good, albeit like all live service, open to controversy type event. I really put a lot of time into Helldivers 2. That was only negated by one of my favorite games this year, and that's going to be Arc Raiders, which I've put 250 hours plus between Xbox and Steam into. I
Mhm.
love Arc Raiders formula. I love the gameplay loop. I can play Arc Raiders as a single player game. I can play it as a multiplayer game. I can be peaceful. I can be hostile. There's a lot of scales and progression trees that I can enjoy if I want to, but it's still very much a live service game for your dad, meaning you don't have to get to everything. There's nothing time gated so badly that you're going to miss out via FOMO. They do a great job with their pricing structure. They've reduced prices in a time when gaming doesn't do that. They've taken care of their fans with lots of free content and events. They've launched new maps. They've upgraded weapons. They've done cosmetics. I absolutely love Arc Raiders. I strongly recommend people check it out. And Freight Conductor coming in with a $20 super chat as well as a code for an Xbox Play
That's
Anywhere
amazing.
version of Arc Raiders. Freight Conductor, thank you, my friend. We appreciate you.
Salute to you.
Chat, let us know if you have redeemed this copy of Arc Raiders. I absolutely love this game. This is strongly and sincerely one of my game of the year by far. It, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, Avowed are kind of my top three. Strongly recommend you check these out. Freight Conductor, thank you not only for the super chat, but for taking care of our community here. We appreciate you, my friend. I'm going to leave that on screen for just another
That's awesome. Who got that ball pit? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know we have a lot of lurkers between our two platforms that we're live streaming on as well. And I will give another shout out to our podcast listeners over on iTunes and Spotify. I need to be better in 2026 about thanking you guys and also asking those of you that are listening to subscribe and share on that platform as well. Please do that. I see all the numbers. We know that you guys are listening there. Thank you. But I know a few of you could subscribe, so please do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Logan, what do you want to say about Arc Raiders, my friend? Because I know you play it as well, just not as much as I do.
Arc Raiders is fantastic. I've been trying to wait until I can play with A-Chick, but I have run in solo quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those games that, like, when I saw it, and we were kind of like tossed up with the alternative of like Arc Raiders or Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's some other extraction shooters that are coming down the way, and there's been a few in the past where we've had like Call of Duty.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Omni was able to redeem that.
Oh, nice.
Omni, did you redeem Ball Pit or Arc Raiders, my friend? But thank you sincerely, and thank you to those who donated them. Go ahead, my friend. I'm sorry to interrupt.
So yeah, I was looking forward to Arc Raiders because I think the vibe and like the aesthetic works better. Whenever I look at Arc Raiders, I think this is what the world of like the Matrix would be if you talk to the people who had to go onto the surface to scavenge instead of following like Neo and Morpheus and stuff as they ride around the sewer systems, jacking into the Matrix. It's like there's a whole ecosystem outside of that. And I think that ecosystem lives and breathes by the people that are the raiders that go up to the surface where the machines are, just to try and scavenge things that you can't necessarily get or make on your own. So Arc Raiders is by far like one of my favorite games this year. Even though I haven't gotten as much time in it, it's one of those ones that I love. The gunplay is there. I love the physics around a lot of the arc and how they react to stuff. Like you shoot an arc that's flying, you see it mess up and then have to try and overcorrect on its little drone fans and stuff like that. You see the wiggle that comes from, a bullet ricocheting off of their armor plating and stuff. And that's detail that you don't see with a lot of games. So I really loved Arc Raiders. I love just having that opportunity to go in and run around and loot stuff and then get out. I think where Arc Raiders could do better is their inventory and their path to upgrade your tables. And I think a lot of people would probably enjoy it more if they knew what they should be going for and it was easier to process what they were going for when you actually go raid. Because I think that one of the troubles is that you have so many different little items that you can go get. And as you're running around, you just want to get something. So you're usually running around and grabbing stuff and you grab everything and then your pockets are full and you hope that whatever you have is something that you actually need. But unless you start tracking it and looking specifically for things, like
Mhm.
you can get lost in the sauce. And
Right.
that is enough for a lot of people. That is definitely enough for a lot of people. But for folks that are looking to metagame it, there's a lot that you need to do to try and ensure that you are going to specific locations and you're going to loot for specific things, and you're working through your quests. But the loop there is fantastic, and it's really awesome to kind of see um, all of the interactions and media that's come as a result of it. And Clutch Kwando coming out and saying that it puts a little eyeball on the icon while you're looting, and that is good if you are only tracking a few things here and there. When you start to track all of the upgrade items necessary for like all of the tables that you have,
Mhm.
everything has an eyeball, it's hard to try and do that. But that's like a thing that they have a way to get around it. It
Mhm.
just needs to be better. It needs to be more transparent. They need to have a little glowing border around it or something to kind of draw more attention than a small eyeball. And
Mhm.
then kind of like even just secondary information, like you're grabbing a toaster. What is the toaster good for? Oh, the toaster is good for your expedition. What about light bulbs? Yeah, light bulbs are good for your expedition. Do I need them? No, I don't need them for anything, but you
There is
find
a
out later
tooltip.
on.
There is a tooltip, but I think you're asking for more like a visual, kind of
Even
kind
with
of options.
yeah, even with the tooltip in a game where you're surrounded by arc and other players, how much time should you be spending reading tooltips while you're actually raiding?
Mhm.
And I think that that's because you're already taking time looting, and
Mhm.
that time is all, so you're already like head in the box, kind of like looking at what you've got there. I'm not saying it's not a good system. I'm just saying it could be better.
Gotcha. I'm curious to see, like, once you do really get into it, if you still feel that way because, Clutch is saying that you're tracking too many things simultaneously, and that was kind of my first thought was like you're trying to do too much too quickly, but that's because with my time, I've spent so much time in
Yeah,
here that it's second nature to me,
but
and I would imagine this sounds like when people will talk about Sea of Thieves to you. So I'm
yeah,
curious, if you still feel this way later on, and you very well might, because it's one of those games you can do it your way, or you can do it no lifing it. Well, I have
yeah.
done it, uh, and that's kind of the trade off there.
Well, that and I think that that's the point that I'm trying to make is that if you are running into that, like Clutch says, that you're tracking too many things, that is a design flaw in my opinion. If people are running into an issue where they have too many things tracked and they're overcome or they're overwhelmed by how much they need to get and they're not quite sure what they need it for, that's a failing on how their design is, on what's important for what, because
Mhm.
you don't have like a snapshot memory to be like, okay, I remember exactly like the two things that I need to get for my upgrade table for my ammo table. So I'm just going in and clicking on everything that I need to track to get everything there. Have a better progression system or a better design around like, okay, well, this is for this, this is
Mhm.
for this. And Clutch coming in saying, I don't think it's the design flaw. I respectfully disagree. And I think that it's just a difference on opinion. If it doesn't
Mhm.
bother you, that doesn't mean that it doesn't bother other people. So it's
Mhm.
it's tough to argue like if it is or it isn't. If it's not working for someone, then there's something that there's ways to augment that. There's ways to like add visibility. There's one thing in Sea of Thieves that I like is that not only do they have a visual aesthetic to things, they have a descriptive thing for their items, but they also have an audible thing. And there's multiple ways to try and like identify stuff and how to identify or how to show import on things
Mhm.
when they're doing things like that. Not to say that Sea of Thieves doesn't have issues as well too, because a lot of the stuff, I still run around and see Reaper chests sitting on outposts from time to time, but they went in and they added a tooltip that says, hey, this can only go here, this can only go to this place, kind of thing. And they even do that when you go to try and turn it into someone. They're like, hey, take this somewhere else.
So talk to me once you've played it. Like, let's revisit this once you've put in like a more time to it because I'm still more on Clutch's side on this one. But again, the language of the game is second nature to me. And
Well,
so when time comes, I do want to hear like, do you still stand by that or not? Because I think there's a lot of agency they give you, and you don't want to over track too quickly. But talk to me in a month, or once you guys have time, just because
Right.
I'm curious.
So I think the trouble here is that the system is too open, and the restrictions are on, the onus is on the people playing to put restrictions on what you're searching for, instead of just limiting how many things you can actually track at one time. So you're more focused. If I could only track 5 things, then I'd be a little more focused on finding those 5 things until I got them and then move on to the next thing. But instead, it just lets me track everything. And that's tough, because then I don't know if I'm tracking stuff for a weapon. I don't know if I'm tracking stuff for a table, because I've been able to track too many things. If there were fewer options for me to be able to, if I was able to narrow it down by not tracking as much as I can, yes, that's on me for doing it. But the game's also not telling me like, hey, maybe you shouldn't track this much.
Gotcha. All right, man. Well, there you go. Arc Raiders is my number 1 game of the year. I do want to note that for our audience. That is the game more than anything that I loved the absolute most.
Here's a thing. If you were thrown in Destiny 2 and you had to play through Destiny 2, do you feel like you'd be, and I guess that's the thing, is it's like, I would like to see someone go into like Destiny 2 who hadn't played that much of Destiny 2 and try and suss out like where you should go, what you should work on, stuff like that.
A well-made point.
It's overwhelming if you don't know or you don't understand. But for those that are in the know, for those that have been following, for those that are willing to put in the effort, you learn the language of the game and it makes more sense, and it seems like an easy thing.
I think my only anticipated counter argument to that I think people would be listening and saying, wait a minute, is that Destiny has like 10 years of life in it. Whereas Arc Raiders is pretty young by comparison. I will point out a comment. I think it was Freight Conductor earlier in our chat noted that the game devs, not only did they reduce their price, but they also gave $10 of premium currency to their players just for playing for Christmas, which I thought was really cool as well. I'll agree with you there. That led me to get a few new cosmetics just to support them. They dropped a whole free battle pass for progression next to an event-based free battle pass. They've done three free battle pass type progression systems already in there. I think they do a great job with their pricing. So I'm just, in general, I'm a very big Arc Raiders fan at a time where I was hoping to be playing Exoborn this year. So like I'm loving this extraction shooter area. I do want us to kind of finish out our favorite games of this year before we go into what we've been looking forward to, as well as this AAA model topic that I'd like us to break down. I want to give a shout out to Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think sometimes the Assassin's Creed games, because of Ubisoft and the formula that they tend to follow, don't get the love they deserve. But I think Shadows is one of the best games this year. I absolutely loved the visuals, the sound design, the combat, the options for how to take on different outposts and conundrums therein. I loved the storytelling and the acting of Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think the game is just beautiful. The season system was wonderful. I strongly recommend Assassin's Creed Shadows. It is one of the best games that came out this year, and too often punished for the Ubisoft formula, when the Ubisoft formula is well received and enjoyed by so many people. So strongly love this game. I hope people do check it out. It is one of my favorite games of 2025.
I will echo that as well too. It would be remiss of me not to bring up South of Midnight and the Outer Worlds 2 this year. South of Midnight, probably my game of the year, to be perfectly honest. Having reviewed it, I 100% agree with the criticisms that the combat was not in deep enough. But the story and the atmosphere built around that game, the music and design language of how to tell a story, and then use story as a way to build upon the metaphor of like spinning a thread and then having threads of fate. Like, so much of that game was built on top of it, layer by layer by layer, to create a game that feels like it was indie, but from a very good team of developers. That I will say that South of Midnight stands out as one of my favorite games this year. It's one of the other games that honestly brought me to tears, outside of like Destiny 2. The Outer Worlds 2, I'll say, one of those games that I wish I had more time to have reviewed that so that I could have had time to actually work on the review part of it as opposed to just the game part of it. But I absolutely loved Outer Worlds 2. I think that they've capitalized on what is fun about the game and their genre without having to bring forward all of the legacy systems that I think really kind of harmed the Outer Worlds 1 and could have potentially have actually harmed Avowed at this point. But I love the Outer Worlds 2. I had such a good time with that game. The comedy in that game still stands out as a peak example of satire for a modern era of what we're living in society. It absolutely capitalizes on very, very satirical forms of religion, politics, capitalism. All of that stuff is literally the backbone of what that game is, wrapped around this story of, you know, inevitable destruction. And I think that they did a fantastic job with the sequel. I'm hoping to see what they do, or I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the expansions and where they go with with those. And if I ever get time to play through it again, there's other characters that I would like to actually go and explore more with. Whereas I had to shortcut a lot of the side quests to focus on the main plot line for the sake of the review. And I was just like, I was bummed that I didn't get to go play full on for all of those side character missions and stuff.
Gotcha. Well said. There you go, man. I'm really glad that South of Midnight served you so well. Because it didn't quite land with me, but you did a great review for our channel that I want people to check out if they haven't caught it already. Please go check out his review there. Of course, for a lot of the games we've mentioned, we've done interviews or previews or reviews for. Please go check those out. We did all 3 Obsidian titles for interviews this year, as well as reviews, which was really cool and a privilege for us as well. Logan, before we do our most anticipated games for 2026, and then talk about this AAA model that really is bothering me, I do want to give a thank you to the XEP patrons over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We'd be honored if any of you would consider supporting us over there. It helps us keep the lights on, the content coming throughout the year. And we know a lot of you are also supporting here on YouTube as well. Please do not feel the pressure to double dip. We are appreciative of your time there. But I do want to read off the names for our tier 2 and 3 patrons, because that's something we do every week. Big thank yous to Jesse Norris, Glyphere, Jimmy, Matto1606, Matt Valdez, Clutch Kwando, Omen, Jesse Prius, Fado, Aaron G, Nick Bentley, The Scarecrow, Ken Rosing, Fabian Winkler, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Nicholas Johnson, Randall Thor 19, Hafrican, Game Positive, Jampack Sam, Red Beast, Dano 12, DJ Hero, Brenda Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, and Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler. Thank you guys for supporting us over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We appreciate you. All right, Logan. A chat already started with their most anticipated games for 2026, starting with Sathius saying that he's looking forward to High on Life 2. That is supposed to be, that the game looks really good. I'm not a big High on Life player, but we got to kind of see this one a touch early at SGF, and the game looks beautiful for sure.
Yeah,
that's a big one. That is
it was surprising to see High on Life 2 even be a thing. I genuinely was not expecting that. That was not on my bingo card at all. But you know, shout out to them for doing well with the first one, avoiding the controversy, and then getting to push forward with the second one. So hopefully, you know, much like the first one, it retains a lot of its roots in kind of the commentary that it makes when it is actually like, you know, being a more than just a video game. Because I think that really hit well with folks.
Yeah, no, I agree. Clutch Kwando in the chat saying that Gears of War E-Day is on his most anticipated list, and I echoed that one. I think we're going to see that at the Dev Direct coming up this month as well. Clutch, of course, having the Gears icon, and I've talked many times about how important Gears is to my life. for a number of reasons. It's also tattooed onto my body for a big reason. I am excited for Gears of War E-Day as well. I'm really excited to see what they do with the story, given that it's a prequel, the gameplay, given the weapons that have been available in different games like Gears of War Judgment and then Gears 4 and 5. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to merge them and still evolve the franchise? Very much looking forward to Gears of War E-Day. Very much looking forward to seeing what happens with the studio, with the dev direct as well. And I'm genuinely I'll tell you what, I got a lot of qualms with Microsoft Gaming and Xbox right now, but I'm hoping we still get access to get to cover and interview that team because I'm really excited to see what they bring for this one. So that's a big one for me in 2026.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I am genuinely excited for Gears of War E-Day. For Christmas, I actually got a Lancer replica prop that we saw when we went to a convention, and we were shopping around because they have always got the weapons vendors, and the weapons vendors usually have swords. We were looking for like a plasma sword, but we were also looking for the Lancer, and like people were looking to shop around like how much are these Lancers really worth and stuff like that. So sales on Amazon managed to beat the price of what the vendors at the convention were selling them for. So thanks to the deals online, I managed to get a good deal on one of the Lancer props. So I'm looking forward to E-Day. Yeah, Marcus and Dom, genuinely, I'm looking forward to seeing like how that comes about, how that plays through. Hopefully, I don't even need to even see anything more from it. The one trailer we got was enough to sell me on picking it up just based on the franchise. So I'm looking forward to playing that, even if I don't get anything else about it as far as like coverage or news or trailers, anything like that. I'm genuinely willing to go in blind on that game just to have a pure experience without having to worry about spoilers or kind of knowledge going into it.
Yep. Good stuff, man. I like it. We have a couple people in chat. Hey, Red Beast, good to see you. Sathius also mentioning Wolverine as a most anticipated, which is cool. Freight Conductor saying Gears of War E-Day will be sick, but his fingers are crossed for Clockwork Revolution this year as well. Yeah, I'm curious to see where they put Clockwork Revolution because, I mean, Fable, Gears, Forza are this year. Then they got Call of Duty, but not Black Ops in there as well. Where do you put Clockwork Revolution in there? I'm interested to see that one as well. Continuing on from our chat here, we've got Red Beast saying Judas, that's Ken Levine's new project, and Mouse PI for Hire are on the watch list for him. Freight Conductor saying Wasteland 3 was severely underrated. I'm excited with some support. Very good there. Game Positive is curious about Fable, as well as High Guard being a dark horse for him. Oh, wow. Okay. I was going to say he's the only one excited for High Guard, but Freight Conductor also looking forward to High Guard. Fair. Clutch Kwando also mentioning Super Meat Boy 3D. And if you're not watching live, please put these in the comments. I'm curious. I really am surprised by some of these answers. So I'm anxious to see what you guys are looking forward to. Give a shout out to Silkinit saying he's making this the year of his backlog. Maybe Phantom Blade Zero is one on his list, but he's really going to be focusing on that backlog. Excited for you there. Q Sagoni takes one that I'm looking forward to, but I don't think is 2026, and that's Darksiders 4. I love the Darksiders franchise, Logan. You know this. This is one of my favorite AA titles. I have the statues for Darksiders 2, 3, and Genesis. I wish I could get my hands on that first one, but I'm not going to, eBay it to thousands of dollars kind of thing. But I'm really excited to see what happens with the Darksiders franchise. I'd love to see a Genesis 2. I'd love to see Darksiders 4, where you get to see all 4 horsemen that's coming. I'm so excited. But I'm curious what happens with that franchise. I don't think 2026 is the year we get this one, though. But that is an anticipated title for me.
Yeah, definitely. All good picks as well, too. I think for myself, I'm definitely looking forward to Clockwork Orange. I have no clue when they're going to
Revolution. Clockwork Orange is the Stanley Kubrick movie.
Totally different thing. Clockwork Revolution. That's the problem with names like that. Clockwork Revolution is right in the same wheelhouse as Avowed and Outer Worlds for me in its kind of snarky humor. That I absolutely love that kind of dry humor there. But Wherever it ends up in the year, it doesn't matter to me. I will drop everything to jump onto that and play that. Definitely looking forward to Fable. I really am curious, like what's going on with Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
And Pragmata is one of those ones that I don't think I've seen anyone talk about yet.
You played it at SGF.
Yeah, dude, that game, it's like it is like Dead Space with a little girl on your shoulder, doing a little mini game, which is really weird. But it's a fantastic game. I think they're gonna kill it with the reception. And again, kind of going back to my thing as always is new IP. It's a new IP from Capcom, and in a world where we're completely sated with Capcom's like Resident Evil series and all the they've tried this before with Exo Primal, I think.
Yeah.
That was a new IP. Did not do well at all.
Fun game, but it was meant to be play it for a few weeks and put it down for sure. I don't know where they thought the life would be on that one.
Yeah, I don't either. It's a weird one. It feels like one of those. It feels Exoprimal to me is what I think we feel like when we think about Anthem. In the reference for Anthem aside, the Anthem was not a fantastic game. It had a couple cool things about it, but it was not a fantastic game.
I love Anthem.
You love the flying around of Anthem.
I love the flying. I loved the combat, and I loved when you fought the bigger monsters. In that one, we didn't get enough of that, which I think is disappointing.
But you can't tell me walking through the city and then a slower walk or a faster walk through the city with the deadpan faced people that all look the same was a good design.
No. But Destiny didn't have a good. I forget the name of the hub there. That hub wasn't great at first either.
Yeah, it wasn't. But that's what they were going for. That was absolutely like what they were shooting for. But it's like one of those things where new IP has a really hard time. I think a couple of years ago, we really kind of tried to showcase some of the really like not independent games, but the new IPs that were worth checking out. And it's just, this is one of those ones that I think it'll be safer because it's Capcom, but also because I think that it is genuinely just going to be a well-designed game that people will definitely want to check out. So Pragmata is definitely up there. One that most people probably aren't paying attention to that I've been backing for a long time through its development is Chucklefish's Mina the Hollower. And that is
I've heard about it, but I'm not thinking about it in any way. That's exciting.
So yeah, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is the formula. But with Mina the Hollower as like its skin. So fresh IP from them. And I'm looking forward to seeing that actually come to fruition. I was hoping it was going to be this year. Didn't end up being this year. They ended up pushing it out. Or I guess this year is now 2026, isn't it? I was expecting it to be last year. It's going to be this year. And I'm looking forward to like it and Replaced and Pragmata. Those are like my top three fresh IPs that are coming out that aren't based on like existing IP.
Gotcha. That's fair. You mentioned Capcom. Got to give a shout out to Resident Evil for sure. I know that a lot of people are looking forward to it, but it's so close that we don't tend to think of it like as that's one of my most anticipated. But I'm stoked for this one. I love Resident Evil. I love survival horror. I love horror. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that for sure. That's just, yes, bar none, one of my most anticipated. I'm also looking forward to, and this is probably I don't know that it's my most anticipated because we've got Gears, Forza, Halo. Sorry, not Halo, Gears. Yeah, we do have Halo this year.
We have Halo campaign
of Halo this year. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one as well because I'm excited to see this Unreal Engine version. I'm excited for the possibilities that it opens, and I love Halo. So yes, am I excited for the same game? Maybe not necessarily, but to see people love Halo, yes. So there's possibilities. But the one I want to talk about is Lego Batman The Dark Knight, Legacy of the Dark Knight. Because this is such a weird game. I'm a diehard Arkham fan. I'm playing through Origins right now because it's that time of year. These games are desperate for remasters at this point. They're time honored and beloved, but also those fans have been kicked around pretty hard by Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, a genuinely bad interpretation of that story. I make no apologies for that. But then they got Arkham Shadow, that was VR only, wonderful game. Very interested to see what this Legacy of the Dark Knight is, because it's a Lego game, but it's Arkham Light, very well previewed, time honoring every version of Batman. If you're a Batman fan, and I'm sitting in my Secret Labs Batman chair, like, I love these games. I really just want to see what this game has to offer. So outside of, I guess you would say, the big titles this year, this is one of mine that I'm like, I'm buying the deluxe edition, whatever it is.
Yeah.
For sure, because I love Batman, and this game seems to love Batman. I also love Arkham. So this is going to be one that, I know I'm going to spend some money on. I'm happy to do it, because it's my fandom. So
yeah, totally. And speaking of my fandoms and your fandoms, I'm looking forward to Wolverine.
Yes.
Ghost of Yotei is like the first time in a while that my PlayStation 5 has had a reason to be used, outside of like the occasional Sea of Thieves session. And honestly, like Wolverine, regardless of how it reviews, how it comes out, I love Wolverine as a character. He's always been my favorite, next to like Nightcrawler and Gambit as far as like the X-Men go. So I'm looking forward to diving into Wolverine and just embracing that character in that world, for however many hours they decide to have it in there for, because that's going to be my bread and butter. That's going to be my justification for the PS5, when that comes out. And it's not one that I want to wait on, like I was able to wait on Spider-Man 2, because I still haven't finished Miles Morales, but I still really love the Morales game. And I'm looking forward to getting into Spider-Man 2 eventually, but Wolverine is much more my superhero, and I'm looking forward to that one.
Love it. I think I'm probably going to play Wolverine. I probably will have sold my PlayStation by then. But I'm willing to bet Wolverine has a PC release around Avengers Doomsday's kind of like digital arrival or something like that, like early 2027. That's my anticipation for their PC release. So that's probably when I engage in that one, but I'm excited for it. I'm ready for that PS5 to go, or get that Steam. I'm just ready for a different. The PS platform did not serve me well, and to make very clear, that is not a diss to it. It's just that I'm a Gears Forza Halo preference, and I know their games are coming to PC. That's why I have a Steam library, an Epic library, and Amazon like that's why I have that. So that will be how I tend to enjoy Wolverine when the time comes. So
makes sense.
That's my modus operandi on that front.
Yeah.
Love that Freight Conductor is looking forward to Lego Batman. The Game Adaption Newscast looks like a new viewer. Good to see you. Says it's going to be like Skywalker Saga with Batman. I think it's a great thing. Skywalker Saga is a fantastic video game, for sure. Clutch Kwando calling out Saros. A lot of people excited for that one as well. And Campaign Evolved. Clutch saw it at HCS. Looking forward to that. Said it looks amazing in person. Sweet. There for it. I hope GTA 6 launches well this year and boosts the industry in a healthy way. And I hope the hardware is able to handle it. We need an injection of positivity in this industry. That the Switch 2 was a nice injection briefly, but it didn't stick. That's not to say it's not selling well, but like the costs of components and consoles are just so high that it's hard for people to just dive in. To go back to your very early point in the show about sales and how much that supports people. We need some positive, like just some big upticks for our industry, and GTA 6 could be that. I know there's questions about it being delayed. I don't think it's getting delayed out of 2026. I think it's a holiday 2026 game, but we'll see.
It'll be very interesting. This is so I never played GTA 5. I never played GTA 4. The last GTA I played was GTA 3 Vice City. And even then, if you asked me what the story was, I wouldn't be able to tell you, because I don't even think that I even completed it at that point. But it's been a long hiatus for GTA in general for me. This one I'm going to jump into because I want to give Rockstar their due diligence when it
Mhm.
comes to making games. Red Dead Redemption 2 was fantastic. It's still one of those games that I think is honestly one of the best made games as far as a world is created, in the
Mhm.
same way that I feel like Cyberpunk, with all of its updates and stuff, helped build a better world. But I still think Rockstar makes worlds better than any other company out there. I've yet to see a world so lived in, so natural
Mhm.
as Red Dead Redemption 2. So I want to see what GTA 6 looks like, because I
Mhm.
think this may be one of those games that if you don't give it an earnest opportunity to impress you, you're doing a disservice to yourself, in the same way that I think a lot of people who look at games fondly over like the last few decades feels the same way. Because I'm sure a lot of people probably feel that way about GTA 5. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way about things like Silksong, Hollow Knight
Mhm.
kind of thing. So it's one of those things where if it's a Bonnie and Clyde or a Romeo and Juliet kind of story, I'm there for it, because I think that those are good stories to kind of like use as a template for your game. But I'm really curious to kind of see what they are actually going to do and how deep their systems go, because I think whatever they come up with is going to really impact how the game industry work or moves forward in
Mhm.
the coming years. Like whatever they do is going to be the thing that them and Nintendo tend to be like the two companies that are like revolutionizing what the anticipation or what the expectation is for open world games. And I'm looking forward to seeing what GTA 6 does to the rest of the industry.
Mhm. Fair. Fair. I think GTA 6, one, its move allowed for the new James Bond game, which Sathius calls out, to be adjusted in its release date, which I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be a fun game as well. But GTA 6 is kind of a perfect bridge into our topic about the AAA model and how it's cracking, and how AA and indie games might just kind of be the budget area. Look at a game like Arc Raiders, which we praised so much. That
Yeah.
was I think the peak AA game that caught fire. It launched at $40. You can do Helldivers as well. Not quite
Yep.
the AAA type experience, because Bloomberg reports that AAA games are costing $20 to $30 million plus at this point. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was a $700 million total cost, one of the Activision execs said, which is just wild to me. AAA dev cycles are now into the 5 to 8 year production titles, which is just ludicrous. There are fewer releases in the AAA space. They have higher expectations, and very little forgiveness is arriving at launch, which is a big deal and a big problem in a lot of ways, especially when they need late reworks or you find a problem late in development. Those are very expensive times. And
Mhm.
so these projects that are, taking that long, and then they see industry shifts and trends adjusting, and they're like, wait, can we pivot this year? That's an expensive pivot. And it means that single player games are costing hundreds of millions of dollars while taking a minimum of half a decade to make. Um, Bloomberg is saying that game budgets have swelled to hundreds of millions of dollars in just the worst way. And so I'm genuinely wondering what happens to some of these titles, because having a $300 million plus budget, or costly redirections and marketing budgets as well, just it makes it less player friendly. And these double A and sorry, the AA and indie budgets, where you have a $30 to $50 game, is a much less hostile number than a $70 buy-in plus a uh, battle pass, etc. I just think this AAA, I guess you would say that just the AAA model is cracking at the seams. Not to mention, Logan, you look at the cost of hardware to get into it. How many price points went up for Xboxes, for PlayStations, for PC components? Goodness gracious, Asus just raised their prices. We anticipate another RAM price hike in the coming weeks. The Switch 2 is bound to have a price increase as well now that we're out of this holiday season. It's, to me, it is unsustainable in its current form. And that might be where people that are objectively looking and not just tossing the word AI and saying that it's bad by default. That's where AI might help development costs in certain places. No love to Satya Nadella, by the way, for his "don't say AI slop." Be quiet, Satya. I'm very interested to see kind of how this AAA model goes forward. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough because I think we're going to see a swell in indie and AA titles, whereas for so long it felt like that whole market had kind of dropped off. My biggest concern, honestly, is really going to be hardware adoption. As many people want to make sure that is known, the hardware sales are not growing; they're stagnant, and that they're just kind of upgrading to the newest stuff. So, I think, unfortunately, I think in the current like environment, as far as like economics go, we're not going to really see people moving to jump on new hardware, which is going to really kind of slow down some of the larger development, because they are going to be having to base their sales off of current gen systems and not really have like that expectation of like, well, consoles are up, console upgrade generations are coming every 5 years. And now we're going to start seeing it at like 7 years, and it's 8 years. And at that point, it's like, well, do we really need to justify having a AAA game be as large and as expensive as it needs to be when the hardware isn't going to change? We could do smaller titles for less, knowing that it'll have the same player base, and you won't have that kind of system sell game that we typically look for. Like Switch 2 came out, the Switch 2 game for their console seller was Mario Kart World. And by all accounts, a lot of people still think Mario Kart 8 is better than Mario Kart World, and they just missed the mark on Mario Kart.
It absolutely is.
And
it
then
absolutely is.
You look at the fact that the game is $80. You look at the fact that Donkey Kong Bonanza, as good of a game as it is not a Mario game. When a lot of people who buy Switch tend to want that Mario game, and we don't have a Mario game on the horizon even, because that team was busy making Donkey Kong. So you really don't have much incentive to make a AAA game unless you know it's going to be like a GTA 6. And having some of these smaller games come out that are going to be like the $40 games that are the smaller investments. Expedition 33, Game of the Year for the Game Awards, that was a smaller title. That was a smaller, less expensive title. And I think now that people kind of have like their hardware, and the hardware prices are just going up, people are going to look to see where they can save, and they're going to push people to more free to play games. You're going to push people to smaller investments because it's less of a risk in the actual cost. And these AAA game sizes are just going to have to figure something out, whether they scale back in scope to reduce the cost of the game itself, but still offer like a high quality experience. Is it's gonna have to see how it goes. But I just genuinely don't know why we're still looking at some of these games taking 5 to 8 years to make for the costs that they are, when the market itself is not in a growth period, and the costs for the consoles and the hardware itself are pricing people out of the hobby in general.
Right. I think people have the hardware they have, and it's very likely they're going to stick to it en masse. Games are still releasing on PlayStation 4 and on Xbox One.
Yeah.
And running on there. And if somebody is purchasing a PlayStation 5 Pro, which is I think the most recent console that's how I switched to, PlayStation 5 Pro, and they're playing Fortnite on it, does that truly benefit Sony? Does that truly benefit PlayStation? To an extent, yes, but does it recoup their costs? Maybe not as much as it once did. And I think that's kind of the conundrum that these manufacturers have when these components are so high. They used to eat the cost of some of that and subsidize a bit and then make their money back on software and subscription. They just don't seem willing to do that at present, which right now we're seeing that Xbox is at historic lows for console sales, just historic lows for console sales. Well, no kidding. The Series S is as much as the Series X was at launch. The Series X is $700 with taxes. And
Yeah.
that's just remarkable. And I don't care that it's market conditions and that bad people in White Houses are the reasons for this. What it comes down to for me is the consumer can't buy into this hobby, isn't willing to spend that much because they can play it on something that they already own. And so
Yeah.
that's the reality. And so I really think that we're set for a AAA model fracture that's going to say, hey, unless you're Cyberpunk 2077, unless you're GTA 6, pardon me, unless you're a very particular type of game, you're not going to be deserving of that $80 plus price tag. You're just not. I advocated Sonic Racing Crossworlds. That's a big ass $90. It's a very good game, but certainly that price point is intimidating, and most people aren't going to pay it. Certainly.
I don't think any game that I've played this year is worth $80. I do not think there was a game that I played this year that would justify $80. I've had more fun in games, and I've spent more in games that are long established because of a free to play thing, like a market or cost per. No, I can't even think what it is I'm trying to say. But the
like live service,
like the live service mentality. I've spent more in live service because I'm getting stuff that is going to persist than I have investing in games that are $60 or $70 or $80 because I know for sure that I already like the thing that I like. I'm just getting a different flavor in that thing that I like. And no game that I've played this year could I sit there and say like, oh yeah, that was absolutely $80 worth. I'm glad Outer Worlds 2 dropped their price because it does not justify an $80 price point. It hurts to think that it wouldn't technically justify a $70 price point. But I do think that it is a AAA experience in that, but it's pushing the line when it comes to like how much are they willing to charge.
Fully agree. And Silken, it says it very well for me. The games that I would have paid $80 for were sold at $40. And I don't know that I would have paid $80 not knowing if I was going to love it. And I think that's the thing. Like there are some games I'm willing to double buy to have it on 2 libraries so I can play it on my Steam Deck. Sure. Marvel Rivals just got its cross progression fixed. So now I can play Rivals on my Steam Deck and use the progress from my Xbox. And by the way, just based on numbers, Rivals is the game I played most in 2025, according to True Achievements. Cool. That was obviously front loaded in the year, but great. But I wouldn't have paid $80, but certainly I have spent $80 there. Right. The very few games that I think are worth that money in terms of quality, and I'll point to Witcher 3 is suggestive of that quality. Cyberpunk now is suggestive of that quality. But I just don't see, like, would I pay $100 for Witcher 4 on its own? No. For a deluxe edition, maybe.
Yeah.
Would I pay it for the next Arkham game if it had the Arkham Knight content? Yes, but that's Luke Lore talking about his favorite game. I want more of my favorite game. But are you going to sell that to somebody that doesn't? No. You're just not.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's absolutely got to be a contraction of the AAA costs because it's just not sustainable, and passing it on to the customers is going to lead you to less customers.
Yeah. So I think at this point, outside of the big players that we already know are going to continue doing what they do, I don't see the industry moving more and more towards the $80 price point. If they can't, especially if they release games at $80 and they don't do well, that is just going to contribute to them saying that the studio didn't perform as expected, as opposed to not having the proper expectations to begin with. And I fear that that's going to cause layoffs and shutdowns when it comes to studios, as opposed to firing the people who said an $80 game was going to sell.
Well, okay, so we've got a couple things, and I've got some data, and you can scroll down our notes to see some of it. But I do
Yeah.
want to spotlight Sincere's comment. It says the contracting is going to have to go deeper than that. It's not a GTA or Cyberpunk in scope. The project may no longer get the budget that will require $80 a pop to recoup. Well said, Sincere's. So right now, 33% of AAA developers are working on a live service game. That's according to PC Gamer. 42% of those developers say they don't want to be in live service games next, which is that same source. Player retention is truly brutal for a lot of these. Usually it's 2 to 4 weeks after launch that you start to see player counts drop, with exceptions being for games like Arc Raiders, Marvel Rivals, which are outliers in this space. Then you can look at the fact that we have a number of AAA studios, veteran developers, senior developers with 15 to 25 plus years of experience that are leaving the AAA space or leaving the industry altogether, citing these ballooned projects and burnout that comes from having to develop it. I think it was Insomniac that was recently spotlighted as pushing their teams to do overtime for Intergalactic. And the game's not out until 2027. They're already doing overtime. And you know, what does that mean? As well as scope creep, which was kind of what we're talking about here being a problem with these ballooned budgets, as well as late stage pivots, which we go back to. Mark Darrow was quoted as having problems with this consistently. He had a number of quotes that kind of came out from a recent interview. Sean Layden continues to talk about this, which is always funny to me when Sean Layden, who did a number of great things for the PlayStation brand by way of his push in the PlayStation 4 era, genuinely great insight on the industry, genuinely great impact on PlayStation overall, Sean Layden had, but now works for Tencent. So it's a little bit like, wait, where do you stand on these issues? And even Phil Spencer has been quoted at various points saying, we're trying to build something that's sustainable for creators and players. Are you? I don't think Phil is any longer. That's a dated quote at this point. But it certainly means that Xbox is now in this unique position themselves. And I'm now pivoting our conversation to Xbox specific, because Call of Duty disappointed, Logan. Even though it's the second most played game on all platforms, that Call of Duty suite, Circana came out and said Call of Duty's doing great, even though it didn't do the numbers that it was. And Call of Duty having a difficult position of having to increase itself year over year. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. I'm almost done.
No, you're good.
It's strange for Xbox now because you've got to do another Call of Duty. It's got to be better than the last Call of Duty. It's got to sell well. You've also got Forza Horizon, which is supposed to do banger numbers and be incredible. It's in Japan finally. We should all want it. But then you've got to have a single player game that Fable has a lot of expectations during the 25th year anniversary. You've got Halo 25th year anniversary. You've got all these things that you have to balance to make money, sell your service, sell your console. And it's just the expectations are so high. Gone, my friend, are your Avoweds and your South of Midnights. I forget what it was, that a Keeper. That's not happening anymore. Those just don't seem to be happening under the new Microsoft gaming model, which sucks because you loved South of Midnight and I loved Avowed, and many people thought Keeper was wonderful for its Double Fine-esque vibe. Are you going to get Avowed or the Outer Worlds 3, bud? Are you going to get it? Are you going to get an $80 version of it? Like what? I don't know, man. So many things to break down there.
Yeah. And it's curious to kind of hear like the expectation for some of these games. I think it's obvious that a lot of people have expectations for GTA 6. But I do wonder if there are expectations for games like Fable. Fable is a dated IP. In much your perspective on Indiana Jones, I don't think that masses really have like an expectation on what a Fable is, because I think a lot of the people that enjoyed Fable are probably around my age when they were in their 20s playing it and recognizing the charm and uniqueness to the franchise when it was fresh. But that studio doesn't exist anymore, and that company or that IP has been dormant for a long time. So while I think that there is a legacy to address, I don't think anyone has any particular expectations on how good or bad Fable will end up being, except that we know like who's actually making it and the pedigree of the the team that's behind it is the thing that I think is going to set that expectation more than the IP itself at this point. But I don't think that you're wrong. I think that looking at Call of Duty and thinking they were content to come out with new maps and a wall jump on top of a new campaign and a new version of the zombies. It did not feel like there was enough different in the Call of Duty to justify its annual release. And I think that one of the big issues that I think ironically hits other studios more than Call of Duty is feature creep, where you have that scope where it just keeps blowing and ballooning and ballooning and ballooning until you run out of time and realize half of the things that you thought were really good ideas that you put into the game are now half done because you just didn't have enough development time to work on those. And I think that we've seen issues like that with games like Cyberpunk, where systems that should have been flushed out, like the driving in there, were horrible at launch, and eventually made it to be very comparable to other games with driving. But they had to go back and redo a lot of that game, and now it's in a really good state. But you can see where they had a lot of really good ideas,
right?
None of them hit well because there were so many of them that hit okay, because they put in too much. And I think that it's a perfect example of wanting to hit that AAA expectation, stumbling, falling on your face to the point where PlayStation has to pull it off of their store, and then having to have that mea culpa moment, and then years down the line be recognized as one of the greatest games that CD Projekt Red have made, because they've focused on going back and giving the features time that it needed.
Right.
And that is a major issue with gaming in general, is launching day one with a day one patch that fixes a bunch of issues with your game, as opposed to just waiting till it's ready. And I think that, even Arc Raiders, which came out in a stellar state, especially for a live service game, still had a couple issues. They still had issues that they had to run into and deal with, especially with their monetization stuff that you talked about. But still one of the best launches that we've seen. Same thing with Helldivers. Helldivers had some issues, but it was still one of the best live service launches. And live service is going to be that thing that keeps a studio alive. So whether the devs like it or not, you cannot make a game fast enough on the turnaround to be able to justify having all of those people employed long term, which is why we keep seeing all these layoffs, in my opinion. And it's just, it's tough. It's tough to recognize. I think that's why Capcom does so well with their remasters, because the remasters feed the nostalgia beast inside all of us to buy the game that we already own on a newer platform, while they take risks with stuff like Requiem. And
I think
try. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
I'm done.
I think you nailed it right there. And that is the risk factor, because we say this all. Do we want remasters? Do we want remakes? Do we not? Oblivion, Fallout. Right?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. We have a AAA industry that is less risk averse. That's good to an extent. That's bad to another extent, right? I want more of what I love. I want Halo remasters. I want Arkham remasters, because I love those games. I want more of them. I play the Doom collection. I guess Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 3. I play all of that all the time. Those have been up-resed and fixed and improved, and we see remakes. I want those. I want those things back. I play, like Resident Evil is the best example of remakes. They've done such a good job. Dead Space, such a good job. I want more of that. But I also didn't know I wanted Arc Raiders. Right? There has to be a balance. I want Xbox to be a bit less risk averse. With respect, I don't need South of Midnight and Keeper, but I didn't know I needed Grounded. I know I want more Halo. I know I want more Gears. I know that. I know that I want those things. So bring me the less risk averse Microsoft in some ways, because I do want more of those things. But I didn't know that I loved Grounded. I didn't know I loved Avowed.
Yeah.
And that's I recognize the difficult position that I as a consumer put these companies in, but I also will throw the middle finger to some of these companies and Satya for some of the things they've said about us as consumers, or how they treat Xbox as a brand, or whatnot. And that's the trouble. Look at Marvel. Logan, in the movie space, really had a pretty rough dip after Endgame. Spider-Man notwithstanding, Daredevil notwithstanding, but like,
I feel like they're still in that dip.
you agree, but Deadpool though was pretty well received. And then you look
Yeah.
at, okay, you know what? This dip's been rough. Let's bring back everybody.
Yeah. They're like,
Bring back what people want and what people know, and that's your remake. That's your remaster.
Yeah.
You know, and I Star Wars did it to success and failure, right? Do they want this thing in Star Wars? Do you want the Acolyte? Do you want some of the shows? There is a show there that I completely don't even know what the name of it is. Or do you want to see your heroes back? And it's the conundrum that comes with these scenarios. And so I'm not advocating that you should completely forget the past, or completely do new things, or completely go risk averse. But I'm going to tell you, I like risk averse Xbox if it gives me more Gears, Forza, Halo. I like it if WB finally gets off their butts and remasters these Arkham games, or because Sega did it.
You mean when Netflix commissions the remasters and the remakes of them and then makes them exclusive to the Netflix platform?
I don't like that, right? But like, Capcom figured out they needed to remake and remaster as well as make new. Xbox figured out they needed to bring back Halo. There is a balance there. It is not a catch-all statement, and it's not one that can be catch-all in any way, shape, or form. So I respect that. Hey, there's a cute cat there. But let's go ahead and wrap our thoughts on this as well, now that we're getting there. And then we had several Discord questions from our XEP community we need to get to. I know we're running long today. This is our catch-up episode from being gone. Folks, we're still aiming for 70-minute shows later on. All right. Any final thoughts on those topics, Logan?
I mean, I think you've said it really well. I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see like what happens in the gaming space. I think your Star Wars reference was amusing to me in the sense that I don't think that a lot of people really enjoyed what they did with the movies, which was intended to be their kind of like bring everyone back. Because I think that the shows like Mandalorian and
Force Awakens was well received.
Force Awakens was. I think Force Awakens was good. And I think it was fantastic up until Kylo Ren took his mask off and we realized that was not what I thought was under that mask. But no, I love Adam Driver. But I think there's going to have to be a lot said about, I think I'm going to have to really kind of rethink my opinions and feelings on remakes and remasters. Cause I'm not a huge fan, but I'm quickly realizing that the market is sustainable because of those. Mm-hmm. And as long as studios are still willing to put out new IP like Pragmata, I'm going to acknowledge that there is a time and place for remasters and remakes, even if I do think it's a cash grab, even if I do think that it's good for, gaming as far as like, keeping games alive so that they don't get lost to hardware or shifts in generations and stuff. I recognize all of that. I think there's ways to go about it better, but I recognize that these are intended to be ways to fund other stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And I hate that that's the case, but I hate that less than I hate loot boxes.
Fair. So. Okay. All right. Well, let's get to some of our Discord questions. These came from the XEP patrons, the people that are supporting us over on Patreon, that are part of our daily Discord that we so enjoy. This one comes from Nissa Hauer, says, what is the game that affected you most emotionally this year? I have a feeling yours is South of Midnight.
Yeah, I absolutely love South of Midnight, both in ways that made me sad, but also made me happy, but then also like made me disgusted There were just so many different story beats in that, and I think that they really did a good job capturing what my impression of the culture in the South is like, that I never lived or experienced, especially given like the nature of like the weather and the hurricanes that they deal with and the flooding that they deal with down there. But from a team that was not, established there, like that to me, like a Canada based team doing a story about the South, a lot of people were kind of questionable about how well that was going to do. But I genuinely think that South of Midnight is one of those games that is all about story and education around like a culture. And while the third act didn't hit as hard as the first two, it's still one of those games that really meant a lot to play through and experience.
Good answer. I in the spirit of this question, because I've had some wonderfully emotional moments with like arc raiders and wins and losses and exits and we did this, guys, good job rallying, or the kindness that I like on Christmas and throughout the last week, I've been just bringing blueprints in and giving them to raiders that are kind. Apart from that, in the spirit of this question, it was actually Assassin's Creed Shadows that with Nawe and Yasuke had some incredibly emotional moments. Again, I will point to the writing of that game being very well done, the acting in that game very well done, that were truly emotional, and I really loved. I was expecting to have some of those emotions with the Silent Hill games, didn't quite land, but I think it's just timing. So Assassin's Creed Shadow.
F or 2?
Yes to both.
Okay.
Yes to both.
Fair.
I really am liking 2. I didn't finish it just because I jumped from my spooky phase into other stuff, but I'm going back to 2. I really have been excited for that game. It just didn't. It landed with some bad news at school, so just I'm on hold for that one.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. Nicholas Johnson asks us what you are most excited about for gaming in 2026. Apart from the titles we've listed, I'm really excited for the Steam Machine. Really excited for that. That's I think my answer there.
Yeah, same. Absolutely can't wait to get one of those. Because I think if like you're anticipating stuff from Sony coming over to Steam, then I will look forward to that, because I would much rather play on a Steam controller than a DualSense Edge.
I do not
or
like
DualSense.
that controller.
I don't either. I recognize that it's a good, well-made, thought-out controller.
Agreed.
I just don't like the actual ergonomics of it. I think I'm a lot more comfortable with an Xbox. I got 2 controllers next to me. One of them is the Turtle Beach Stealth Ultra Elite, and the other one's my Cypher Blue Xbox controller. And I just prefer those compared to the DualSense. The Nintendo Switch Pro 2 controller is good as well too, but I really want Xbox to up their game when it comes to controllers, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the Steam Machine's controller, now that they've seen how controllers need to be made, how that does, especially given their experience with the Steam Deck and stuff.
Yeah, no, I'll agree, because for me, it's been the Razer Wolverine controllers, both the wired and not wired. I adore those controllers. They blow every other controller I've used out of the water, to include the Elites. It really shows how far behind the Elites are. Mind you, the Elites are dated at this point, so I do cognitively recognize that.
Yeah, but even still, like the things that are being done right now are not like that far removed from when the Elite 2 and the Xbox Series X and S controllers were announced.
Yeah, the mouse click button of the Wolverine is what I just love those. And they're much more comfortable, especially in like long gaming sessions for the holiday. Fred Conductor asking, or saying rather, that they're afraid of what the Elite Series 3 price will be. I'm afraid of anything price wise these days, because I really want a Steam frame as well. I love VR, but like, dude, you kidding me?
Yeah.
You kidding me? Like, how am I going to afford the Steam Machine? Much less both.
And I will pack up my PlayStation 5 and my PlayStation 2 VR for a Steam Machine and a frame. just because I appreciate that Sony's putting their games on the Steam platform. Even though I think that the exclusivity model that they have is still serving them decently well. But I would be much happier to have my full library of Steam stuff, because I've been putting more and more on Steam, especially this year. With the reviews that we've been doing, we've been getting the Steam codes for those, and those come faster than the Xbox codes.
Sure do.
So that's something like my Steam library is actually getting decent.
I'm enjoying adding to my Steam library.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I'm enjoying adding to mine.
So, and if Xbox can, pull a rabbit out of the hat and get Steam on a console, or a handheld, that is that's a more native experience than like what the Ally is offering currently. I'm very, very happy to invest in those two ecosystems, as opposed to Sony's. Whereas I think, even though honestly I love the fandom around Sony's console, because I think that those people genuinely just love everything about Sony, and I think that they've got an Apple-esque design philosophy around all their hardware that just, if it works for you, it's great, but it just doesn't work for me.
I don't know. I've never thought about it like that, I guess, for Sony. I obviously, anyone that's listening to the show for a while has known that I retooled the intro a bit. I'm still kind of tweaking, but we're adjusting for a future where we've been saying this for a while, but like we cover Xbox, but Xbox just means something so different now. And so like we cover video games, and we do it without our console war noise. Like our preference for controllers is not based on fandom for saying PlayStation's good or bad or Xbox is good or bad. No, we love video games, and that is the way it goes. And I know a lot of our friends in the nerd chat, especially Bacon's, like PC is the only thing answer. I don't agree with that, but I also recognize that like you can play, like where I can play the games is great. I just want to play the games and I want to enjoy them. I don't want to give up my library. That's the trade-off, right? Like that's why I'm not selling my Series X instead of my PlayStation. I don't want to give up my library, and I don't apologize for that.
That's the trouble right there. That's why if we had stronger legislation and
here it is.
If NFTs weren't going to be used for stupid digital goods and they were used as a token-based system to add value to a digital game that you could then trade and sell the way you do with physical games at like GameStop and stuff, I think we would be having a much different discussion, because you would have laws in place that would allow that would force companies to say, if you buy Marvel Rivals on X and you have cosmetics and currency there, you can then transfer that over to Y, and they would have to adopt it in a way that allows you to do that, because I think the architecture is the same regardless.
Our good friend Jesse Norris says 2026 is the year of stronger legislation. I can feel it.
Give consumers more control over their digital goods, for the love of God.
I don't think that's going to happen, buddy.
It needs to. It is the backbone. Because I can tell you right now, in the industry that I actually work in, my normal job, electronic documentation is quickly becoming the expectation across the board for everything. And that kind of adoption at a government-based level means that the discussions are being had, but not being applied where they need to. And that's where I think like the FTC and the companies that are in, or the agencies in charge of policing companies need to be better, so that consumerism can be more relevant from a consumer's perspective, as opposed to you buy it, but you don't really get it. You get to have it, but it's not yours, kind of thing.
I everything you say, I agree with. However, I just don't see it happening. So I don't think my brain lets me get there. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, well, I'm just hoping we don't go to war tomorrow. And like, that's not good. And so I think that's my only problem.
Just let me buy eggs. Let me buy eggs. Let me pay for gas. That's all I ask.
Well, I got nothing. Nah. Oh, man. Well,
it's the end of the episode. It's okay.
It is. Red Beast also asked us our favorite games of the year and what games we played during break. I think we've answered that accordingly. But Red Beast, we do appreciate you for supporting us and taking care of us and participating in our Discord. Frank Conductor says, too late, we already took over Venezuela. Yep, that's gonna go great.
Yeah, that's okay.
There we go.
I will say that over the break I did play a hefty sum of Donkey Kong Bonanza, and that game scratches the itch the way Power Wash Simulator does.
Nice.
And it's wild to think that they managed to pull that off. But it's so good seeing Donkey Kong get some love, even if it's not Mario. I just want another Mario game, and I just want another Luigi's Mansion. And I can't remember the name of it, but there is a game that is one that we've both talked about. It's the Star Fox veteran game, Wild Blue.
What is it called?
Wild Blue is that Star Fox game. It's a love letter to Star Fox. I keep a tab open. I kid you not. I keep an inactive tab open from the VGC article that wrote about the Fox, just so I don't ever forget about this game. And I keep it on my phone so that I'll always have access to it. But Wild Blue is one of those games that I genuinely cannot wait for, because it is just a better take on Star Fox in a world where Nintendo does not want Star Fox. And I hate that.
Nintendo doesn't seem to want Metroid either.
They just came out with a Metroid. I mean, they just put more amiibo out for a Metroid. I mean, they're not necessarily doing themselves any favors by certain choices that they make.
There you go.
But stepping on rakes aside, Metroid still getting some love.
Fair. All right. Well, I think we've had a fantastic episode. I have thoroughly enjoyed being back with you. We rarely go 2 hours. However, I'm so glad we did have an extended episode. I'm so grateful to people that hung out with us. I'll remind any of our listeners over on iTunes, Spotify, or podcast services, please subscribe over there and share it on those respective platforms. Review it. I need to do better about acknowledging and appreciating you guys. So thank you as well. To those of us that are watching over on YouTube, if there's a game that we did not reference, that we did not talk about, please drop it in the comments. Help us with engagement over there. I will point you to support the creators that create content you enjoy wherever it is, by just liking, subscribing, and sharing, because there are great people making great content, to include our friend Jesse Norris over at Xbox Era, because now's the right time.
How dare he come out here with this kind of a comment? Metroid is a series is about to be outsold by 2 Hollow Knight games. That is all community-based fandom. That's my opinion.
Right. All right. Logan, people can find me over on Blue Sky at Insipid Ghost. Where can they find you?
I'm also over on Blue Sky, although I have not been active on social media for quite a while. I can't remember the last thing I actually posted. I think I've retweeted and reposted stuff more. But you can find me at captlogan.bluesky.social. You can also find me at capt_Logan on Twitter. And then for all intents and purposes, I still do my Sea of Thieves podcast. I think today is going to be episode 399. So I am just two episodes away from 400. And as far as I know, still going to be going after that. So Sea of Thieves content still striving. We're still hoping that the season 18 is going well. I think Rare is getting back to a point that they were a few years ago when they were making good strides in content, because it has been a lackluster for a while now, and it feels like they're actually getting back to a point where it's like, I don't know who was on vacation, who took a couple years off, but someone was gone, and whoever that is, they're back, because Sea of Thieves feels better than it has in quite a while. But yeah, Keelhold Podcast is out there. If you guys want to listen to me talk about Sea of Thieves, if that's something that you're interested in.
There you go. Alrighty, guys, that's going to be it for us. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Take care.